Sometimes your mind fills in the blanks before anyone says a word. A pause, a glance, or a delayed reply can trigger worst-case scenarios, spinning stories that may have nothing to do with reality. This tendency isn't random. It's a survival mechanism designed to prepare for danger and keep you alert. The downside is that it can quietly create stress, anxiety, and misunderstandings, even when everything is fine. Today we will talk about why you assume the worst in silence. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. 1. The mind's default to negativity. Humans have a natural tendency to assume the worst, especially when information is missing. This mental habit is rooted in evolution. Our ancestors survived by anticipating danger and preparing for potential threats. While the physical dangers of the past have largely disappeared, this bias toward expecting negative outcomes remains. In modern life, this tendency manifests in social situations, work decisions, and personal relationships. When someone doesn't respond to a message or seems distant, the mind often jumps to worst-case scenarios, imagining rejection, conflict, or failure. Silence is particularly powerful because the brain dislikes uncertainty. When information is lacking, it fills in the gaps with assumptions, often negative ones, because anticipating harm was historically safer than assuming everything is fine. This automatic mental pattern explains why we sometimes overthink minor pauses or ambiguous interactions, creating unnecessary stress and anxiety. 2. The role of uncertainty. Silence triggers the brain's discomfort with uncertainty. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making, attempts to interpret ambiguous signals, while the amygdala reacts to potential threat cues. When no explanation is provided, the mind constructs scenarios to make sense of the unknown. These scenarios often skew negative because the brain prioritizes safety over optimism. In relationships, for example, a delayed response from a friend can trigger thoughts like, "Did I do something wrong?" Or, "Are they upset with me?" Even when no actual threat exists, the brain's natural inclination is to prepare for worst-case outcomes. This mechanism, while protective in nature, can lead to unnecessary stress, miscommunication, and overthinking when assumptions replace reality. 3. Emotional projection. Assuming the worst often involves projecting internal fears onto external situations. If you are already anxious or insecure, the brain interprets silence as confirmation of those fears. For example, if you doubt your social skills, a lack of reply from someone may feel like proof that you were rejected or judged. This projection amplifies negative thinking because the mind blends internal anxieties with ambiguous external cues. The result is a self-reinforcing loop. Anxiety increases the likelihood of assuming the worst, and negative assumptions further fuel emotional stress. Recognizing this dynamic is critical to breaking the cycle and responding to silence more objectively. 4. Past experiences shape assumptions. Previous experiences heavily influence how we interpret silence. If you've been hurt, rejected, or criticized in the past, the brain encodes these memories as warnings. When similar ambiguous situations arise, your mind retrieves these past events, priming you to expect negative outcomes. For example, someone who has experienced repeated workplace conflicts may immediately assume a colleague's silence indicates dissatisfaction, even if it's unrelated. These mental shortcuts, called heuristics, save time and energy, but they are often biased toward negativity. Understanding that your assumptions may be based on old experiences rather than present reality can reduce unnecessary stress. 5. The amplifying effect of overthinking. Overthinking magnifies the impact of silence. Once a negative assumption forms, the mind can replay multiple scenarios, escalating anxiety. You might imagine conversations, conflicts, or consequences that never happen, each iteration increasing emotional tension. Over time, this mental loop strengthens the tendency to assume the worst in similar situations, making the behavior habitual. Awareness of this process is the first step to breaking it. Interrupting the loop, questioning assumptions, or seeking clarification from others can reduce the automatic drift toward negative interpretations. 6. Fear of rejection and criticism. Underlying the tendency to assume the worst is often a fear of rejection or criticism. Silence can trigger feelings of vulnerability, as the brain interprets the lack of response as potential disapproval. This fear may lead to heightened self-monitoring, internal dialogue, and emotional distress. People may ruminate on what they said or did, anticipating negative judgment that may not exist. By identifying that fear is the driver behind these assumptions, individuals can separate imagined scenarios from reality, reducing emotional reactivity and increasing confidence in social interactions. 7. The mind's storytelling habit. Humans are natural storytellers, and the brain uses this skill to fill gaps in information. When silence occurs, the mind constructs narratives to explain it. These narratives often skew negative because the brain prioritizes caution. While storytelling is valuable for learning and planning, it can create unnecessary mental drama when applied to ambiguous social situations. The stories we tell ourselves about silence are usually more dramatic than reality, amplifying stress and misunderstanding. Recognizing the storytelling tendency helps you step back and assess whether the assumed narrative is supported by evidence. 8. Strategies to counter negative assumptions. Breaking the habit of assuming the worst involves awareness and active intervention. Start by acknowledging when silence triggers automatic negative thoughts. Pause and question the validity of these assumptions. Do I have evidence for this? Or could there be another explanation? Practicing mindfulness reduces the brain's automatic reaction to uncertainty, allowing you to respond rather than react. Reframing ambiguous situations positively, seeking clarification, or accepting that not all silence carries meaning can significantly reduce anxiety. Over time, these strategies weaken habitual negative thinking and promote emotional resilience. 9. Embracing uncertainty. Learning to tolerate uncertainty is key to stopping negative assumptions. The brain's discomfort with the unknown can be retrained through consistent practice. Exposure to ambiguous situations without immediately filling in negative narratives helps the mind become comfortable with silence and unpredictability. Techniques like journaling, meditation, or focusing on controllable aspects of a situation build tolerance for uncertainty. By shifting focus away from imagined worst-case scenarios, the brain gradually reduces the automatic bias toward negativity, creating more mental calm and stability. 10. Responding intentionally. Instead of reacting. The ultimate goal is to respond intentionally to silence rather than react automatically. Recognizing that assumptions are often projections of fear, overthinking, or past experiences allows you to approach situations with clarity. Pause before concluding. Consider alternative explanations and seek factual information when necessary. By practicing conscious responses, you prevent unnecessary stress and emotional energy drain. Over time, this approach strengthens resilience, reduces anxiety, and fosters healthier interactions. Understanding why the brain assumes the worst empowers you to take control of thoughts, respond rationally, and preserve emotional well-being even in moments of uncertainty. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and click the button to subscribe.